weren't locked down yet. So I am currently teaching from my classroom this session. That's just off the side of the moon there, as you can tell. We have done a number of things in my school that have tried to battle COVID and the engagement of students. So I'm going to share some grade 6, some grade 7, some grade examples of how we engage kids back into our social studies curriculum. But there was a point that we had to engage them in the process of how to do this online. So I thought I would share that too. So I'll start first of all with just a quick overview of how we got going here. So I'm assuming, Chris, you let me know if you can't see the screen. I'm assuming you can see that. So my email's there. You'll see that later on, and I think Chris has offered that to you. Feel free at the end if you have any questions that I didn't answer or we didn't have time to, feel free to send that to me afterwards.
Paul, can you see the chat as well right now?
No, I can't see the chat.
If you wanted to, there hasn't been any questions yet specifically, but if you wanted to, you can click on the top and you can see the chat there as well.
Oh, I see. Okay. All right. So in my social studies classes, regardless of COVID, we try to direct all of our social studies through a concept-based or project-based learning. And I've been doing this for about 12 years, 13 years. And just to get an understanding what concept-based and project-based learning was, for me, it was quite the journey. So I would start usually a class like this in my grade 7 class, for example, showing this image and asking students what this meant to them. And they usually come around to figuring out that this has to do with timeless or endless time and how it just repeats itself, which is really what social studies is. I take the 1820 to 2022-20 to a 400-year time period. And a lot of the projects are aimed at either going back in time and making them a 12 or a 13-year-old student in that time period, or moving ahead in time, 200 years in that time. And they get the association and the practicality of what it would be like to be a 12 or 13-year-old student. So, and I put them in the current timeline right now. So whether they are communicating with people in the past or in the future, it helps them with the concepts that are presented in, for example, Social 7 right now. So when we talk about mercantilism, this is an image that I would share with them and say, okay, what does this image mean to you before we get started on anything? They've got a little bit of background on the history of Canada, where North America began with the European movement into North America. And usually kids begin to go and get the idea of what arrows mean. So I haven't done any instruction. They're starting to use their own vocabulary, some of their own experiences. And to them, they are able then to, I think, engage and understand some of the terminology that's new to them or some of the new concepts because it's a brand new image and they've come up with the ideas themselves. So we'll have a discussion about that and move forward. So you can do that online too, and I'll show you those examples in a few minutes of how we did that. So the other way to approach this is to talk about what exactly are extraordinary times, and what a perfect way to do that right now, because kids are being exposed to things that none of us have been exposed to, and asking them what these words mean, and what does this have to do with social studies in the realm of understanding social behavior in the history or currently or what's going to happen in the future. A lot of these terms are unusual, and most of them probably not part of a student's regular vocabulary. So to have them come up with ideas and share with what each other has, whether it's in a classroom or online, has helped a lot too. It's that rather than taking notes or me just talking at them, they're actually coming up with ideas of what all these mean. So what the way we sold, yep.
Just a quick question from Lisa, and I believe you and I spoke with this, but I don't want to speak out of turn. Will you make this PowerPoint available for attendees afterwards so they can have access to some of these images?
Yeah, for sure. There might be a couple of slides that won't have everything just because the animation's in it, but they can have access to anything I share today. So
awesome, thank you.
Okay, so the way I sold it to my administration at the start of last year, I'm in a brand new school that opened up a year and a half ago, was to take a look at concept and project-based learning. And the way the social studies curriculum works is we've got a curriculum here of knowledge and skills along the red line. Within this area, this is what a student would learn over the school year. You know, that's their achievement. If they've done that, we feel there's an achievement. But I said, you know, really social studies and science is way beyond the curriculum. And engaging a student beyond this red line into this, what I call a triangle area, is really the success of where I find social studies and science in a project-based or concept-based learning. So the three things I focus on are knowledge learned beyond the content, the skills learned beyond the content, and then the potential new areas that kids would find interesting to them. And that sparked my administration's interest in the sense, well, we're going beyond, and there's a lot of enhancement. We're engaging kids at their levels. And I said, well, that's not the only part, because we're going to add more triangles as we go. And as soon as I said that, they talked about this massive workload and kids being disengaged because they were going to be left behind. I said, well, that's not the case, because what happens, instead of this model, this is the model you'll see. So over a 3-year period in social studies and science, here's the curriculum that they would see and the achievements there. I said, what if we could make a student the better opportunities and better challenges by providing them with knowledge and skills that would have these triangles all over the place. And the student themselves is engaging themselves beyond the curriculum. And over the 3 years, they're learning way more than what I could ever perceive to give them beyond the curriculum either. So with that, all of a sudden it became students engaged. They are self-driven. The curriculum is still being followed. We're still covering all of the stuff, but the students are actually using the information in their practical lives and transferring them into language arts. They're writing essays about the stuff they're learning in social studies or science. The mathematics and some of the stats are being used in math. So we're starting to see that float over even within a year of using this concept in project-based learning. So I'm going to show you quickly how we got our kids involved this year with trying to be engaged in project-based learning. So we took the theme of the Olympic Games to be the background of our science and social studies. And we started this back at the start of April because our school decided to go literacy and numeracy for the first 3 weeks or 2 weeks. And what we decided to do is we are going to create a multifaceted project-based approach to including science and social studies. There were 6 of us involved. I am the only social studies and science teacher out of these 6. The other 5 are shop teacher, art teacher, 2 phys ed teachers, and the band teacher. So I had to make the projects and the concepts relatively easy so that they could go through and do the assessment pieces as well. And we're finding a lot of success with this. So the first project that we offered them, we said that they are our science and social study streams through all of these projects. However, some of the things that we've offered are not specifically based for science and social studies. However, we connect them back to that afterwards, just to get them used to the protocols of how to go about using this online learning. So we gave the idea of here a timeline. The majority of their work would be done through an inquiry basis of 50%. They have to self-evaluate and also present a presentation to their peers and then also for us. So now the content were 25 or 24 different topics. Each one of these topics is an interactive hyperlink within the PowerPoint. For example, if I take international scandals that have changed the Olympic Games, they would click on that and it would bring them up to a single slide with some guiding questions.
Sorry, Paul.
Yeah.
We're still seeing your last PowerPoint. You'd have to hit
Oh, hang on, sorry, okay.
and then hit the new share, and then you go to the new PowerPoint.
Okay, I'm gonna go and share. Is that better?
Much better.
Okay, I'll go back just to that screen, sorry. So this is the breakdown of where they should be spending most of their time, so the kids didn't spend too much time on areas that we weren't focusing on. The preparation and the presentation is what we wanted them to focus on. Here's the slide of 24 options, all dealing with the Olympic Games, which at the time they had just canceled or postponed it. The idea that I was going to show you the international events and scandals, this ties really well into different social studies and science things. Each one of the 24 gives them some background and some guiding questions. We gave them some resources, both video and online. And then what the students had to do is come up with a way to present this information. So if you click this button for the students, these were all the options they could use to present the information that they had learned. So a wide variety. All of our kids are at different levels, obviously. Some of our best projects have come from kids that during the regular school year basically doodled or missed a lot of classes. You know, the fact that they could compose the opening ceremonies to the Olympic Games. One of the presentations, it sort of sounded like Star Wars, but at least it was done. So we did that to give them a lot of flexibility and a lot of ownership. We gave them some background on learning styles. If you click on this, it takes you then to the different learning styles and how to go about doing that. So that's the background on creating some protocols. Once they finished the presentation, they had to submit a form that was a self-evaluation that was based on this assessment rubric. And we used the theme of gold, silver, bronze in training. And these competencies follow the Alberta Ed competencies, the 10, but we also tied in 2 more at the end with how does this connect to your social studies curriculum that you've done all year and your science curriculum. So we had just about 700 kids working on this project. We didn't make it specific to a grade, so all 3 grade levels were working on all these projects at the same time, allowing them to get the variety of use their background, science and social studies to do that. So that's how we got them engaged, and we did that for the first 4 weeks. The expectation was that they were to work on a project a week, and we got 4 projects out of most of our students in the first month. So since then, we have launched our social studies. Through the month of May, we are doing social studies curriculum, and through the month of June, we're going to be doing the remainder of the science curriculum. So I'll just bring up my grade 6 curriculum here to begin with. And I need to share the screen. So let me share. So again, we stayed in the PowerPoint with some hyperlinks in it. I think I shared that correctly. Let me know if I didn't, Chris or somebody.
Yeah.
Okay, so on each slide, no matter what grade it was the title with week number 1. They clicked on the very first video link here, and it gave them an introductory video to ancient Athens, something that we might show in class or that they could go onto YouTube quite easily. Gave them quite a bit of the background information they might need, but it was more of an entertainment piece in the sense that hopefully that would engage them into the next point of this assessment or assignment. So we gave them directions, and for all 3 grade levels, we figured, well, what we found out from the first Olympic projects we did, unless the steps were laid out for them, we had a lot of frustration on the kids' part. Even though the initial PowerPoint that we used was all hyperlinked and set up sort of like a video game, students weren't used to it. So by providing these 6 steps, it told them exactly the order they had to go, how they submitted their self-evaluations, how they prepared for a quiz, and then how to finish their assignments. So each week, we are focusing on one of the concepts that they hadn't covered in grade 6, 7, and 8. And at the end of the week, they have a 20-question quiz built through forms. In Lethbridge, we work in the Teams format, Microsoft Teams, which isn't as flexible as Google and things, but we're making it work. So our engagement here is the students have to go in, click a form that says, yes, they are in and started the work. They will have to do a self-evaluation at the end of it and also quiz. So within the 1 week, we've had 3 electronic contacts with them, as well as independent communications through Teams or email or some of the video presentations we've done. So once they have the assignment, this would be their topic, decision-making and the rise of democracy. There's another video here that is a bit more detailed specifically on the beginnings of democracy that they can watch. And then they go to the guiding questions. And what we've asked students to do is to create a study guide for the week answering these 5 questions or these tasks with the information that we've given them either through the videos or through their textbook. We're lucky that our school, we're one-to-one, so each one of our students has their own laptop. And our textbook is all online. So they have access to the textbooks, and we can do video links hyperlinks to the direct pages in the textbook, those types of things. So this would guide the students through the first part of the last section of Social 6. So we've had a lot of success. The parents find it easier because they can find stuff, the ones that are working along with their students. And for most of them, they don't have the background that they may have had for the rest of the year if they've started Athens already. So that would be my grade 6 beginning.
Well, there was questions.
Yeah.
One is, which textbook is your school using for these resources? And the second one is, do you have an exemplar of what a potential study guide looked like?
I can. I'll show you the textbook if you can still see my screen. It's a Nelson's for the 6s. And if we hyperlink it, I think I may have to share this, or can you see the textbook now?
No, you'll have to reshare.
Okay. Oh, there we go. Reshare. So it's just an electronic copy of the textbook that you would see if you're using Nelson's. It's the exact same book. So it makes it a lot easier. The second question was an exemplar of the study guide.
Yeah, you referenced, yeah.
I don't have a completed one yet, just because our first week will be over at the end of this week. Some of the stuff that we're getting would be directly connected where the students work right within the PowerPoint. So I'll bring that one back up. And all they're doing is typing in their notes right into the PowerPoint. Another one that I've seen is people have been using their Word and just typing that in. So I don't have a completed one for a week yet, no. But I'd be more happy to share that with you once the end of this week so you can see what students are producing. And I'll give you a variety of the top students and some of the weaker students and how they approach making their study guide. So that would be the start of my 6s. I'll show you what 6-2, or what I call 6-2, looks like. And you can see the consistency of the formatting so that students don't get lost in the whole process of this. So this is the second one, which would be the roles, the rights, and responsibility of the people of ancient Athens. So let's see here. I'm not sure what it's, let's try this again. Okay, let's try that one last time. Always interesting to try something new here. Okay. So here's the second one. So this is week 2. Again, it has the opening video. This deals with, again, the idea of the breakdown of the week and where the quiz is. And we're talking about the roles, rights, and responsibilities of ancient Athens. You click the introductory video. Again, it's a more detailed one. We've broken down some of the weeks into assignments, and we gave them this template of, okay, tell me the primary roles and possibly the wealth or description of clothing, leisure activities of the following roles or citizens of ancient Athens. So this would be part of their study guide that they'd be working on, and we could provide or quiz them on at the end of the week. Then we asked them about the leisure activities to get a little bit more what it was like to live in ancient Athens. There's another video link there. And then we provide them again with the learning competencies, the rubric every time. And they go through and answer these questions themselves. So that's the end of number 2. And I'll just show you one more grade 6 here, just so that you can feel that we've stayed consistent with. And we found that the best thing about it is if you can stay consistent, kids will be willing to stick with you because they know where to look, and the questions become a lot less. So the third one deals with amazing people and stories about ancient Athens. And let's change it to they've got an open introductory video. The instructions is there again, and then this introduction video, it's linked right into YouTube, and it starts to talk about the different legends or Athenian Greek philosophers, poets, those types of things. And the assignment with this one is then, and part of the project is to do some background research on either great Athenians or the Greek gods with some hyperlinks that are actually connected to some web pages that give some really good examples. There's some videos tied into it. There's some excellent illustrations and stories. And then the Greek mythology example video there. So if kids want to do the videos or they want to do interviewing a Greek god, we had a student do that before, where they decided they were going to interview Zeus as a news reporter and ask him what their daily life was like. And so they had to get their background information, but it was left up to the students to come up with the creativity of how they wanted to present the information to us. For us, our assessment pieces, as a middle school group in Lethbridge, decided we would not be giving percentages at all. And what we're doing is giving them kind of a meet expectations, exceeding expectations, approaching, and the minimal amount that you could be doing. And we called that training so that they didn't feel like they were failing. So that's the grade 6 stuff, or the examples. There is one more week in there that I can show, but I can show that afterwards if we have time. Let me show you what the grade 7s are looking at right now. When we went into our lockdown, we were just finishing the idea of Confederation starting, and what were the rules and the situation of Confederation beginning in Canada. So let's share this screen. And we stayed with the same format in case there was siblings that could help each other out at home. Chris, can you let me know as you can see that? Post-Confederation, Canada, okay. Okay, so it's got an introductory video again, like in all of them. It's got the same 6 steps involved as you would see in grade 6. We had some video resources, some online resources. We provided them direction within their textbook again, and here are the guiding questions for the first section. And what we did with the concept here, we decided we would talk about leadership and tied most of the content into how do these different groups, how do these different people deal with leadership. So that was the concept we focused on. And it's the separation of powers, those types of things, to help Confederation get to where it is and the first steps into Confederation. So that's where we went with the grade 7. For the grade 7, we broke it into, I don't have that screen on this. We broke it into 4 weeks as well. So each week they're looking at different concepts. We will go into the immigration piece from about 1885 to 1905 to include Alberta's beginning of Alberta. Week 3 deals with everything from 1905 up until the First World War. And then week 4 deals with current day Canada and what the entire rest of the social studies curriculum means to Canada today. So everything from immigration to the development of across the Transcontinental Railway to the Métis involvement. So we're trying to tie as much of the content in, which usually takes about 3 months, into really a week because of the time allotment that we had. So that's the grade 7 stuff.
And do you have slides as
Sorry?
well you'll share later, Paul?
Say that again?
Do you have those slides as well for some of the stuff that you were talking about, the grade 7 as well that you can
Yeah,
share?
I'll put all my PowerPoints into one, so that the one PowerPoint will have, just so you don't have so many files. You can separate it if you're just a grade 7 teacher or something like that later on, if that works.
You bet.
Okay, in grade 8, where our grade 8s ended off was they were just about to begin Japan. And let me pull up that first. So you can see here, same format. The instruction piece isn't, the 6 steps isn't in this one. My grade 8 team, which is the 2 other gentlemen, remember that one of them is the band teacher and one of them is a phys ed teacher that have not taught social studies before. So making this as easy as possible for them to learn the content themselves and to present the content was a bit of an effort. The people, it's amazing, like Chris was talking about, teachers, the way we've stepped forward and moved into areas that we were so uncomfortable. The 5 people I work with, it's unbelievable that they've taken on the science and social studies curriculum as well as they have. And kids, seamless. They have no idea that these people don't have the expertise to share with other people. So in the grade 8, we're talking about the guiding questions here. Let's see if I put that into slideshow form. Make sure it's on this screen. So the introductory videos at the bottom. This would be week 2. Week 1 is, I'm gonna have to pull that one up. This one talks about the isolation process, or what it was like in, I'll point out one thing. On each one of these slides, it talks about the science, what they're gonna learn in in June. So they're well aware that they're dealing just with the social studies curriculum right now. This would be the guiding questions for the Japanese section. We tried to focus a bit more on what isolation meant to their culture and more of the negative aspects, how they went about that for 250 years. Again, the web resources are there and the video resources. In the grade 8 and the 7, we have the outcomes listed there for the parents. We wanted to make sure that we were covered, and they felt like we were covering as much. Let me just show you, as we are getting closer here, let me just show you what number the last week will look like in the grade 8. And then I want to show you what our extension projects look like for each section too. And then I thought we could open it up for everybody to share maybe some other ideas or some questions. And we'll meet Chris's guideline there for an hour. Or make the hour, I mean. So we're going into the adaptation period. This video is a different introductory video. Gives them an idea what it would have been like. This is week number 4, which would be the last week of May. This is the instructional page, and here are the guiding questions. So again, with some new web resources and video resources for this group. The grade 8s also have their textbook online that they can refer to. So it's, I believe we're connecting all of our outcomes. It's obviously, we're not able to deal with 3 weeks into 1 week, jam it all in and make sure everyone's getting it, but we are trying to do it so that the students have it, the basic content, and that they're learning it at their own pace, utilizing the different means of presenting that information and celebrating what they've learned. Let me just show you the last thing, which is the projects, and what the example of the projects would mean. So we've got a student that flies through the information, and they are looking for something more to do, or they have another interest, or the parents have contacted us and said that my student is finished and they're driving me crazy. I need some more information. This is what we did with our extension. So here, where am I sharing? Stop share. Share a new one. So going back to the grade 6, this is what their project would look like. Oh, hang on a sec here. Oh, wrong one. Here we go. So Chris, we're on Athenian.
I can't see anything, but
Oh, hang on, maybe I shared the wrong one.
my
Let me share this one again. There we go. Try that.
Is anyone else able to see anything on Paul's screen? No. He says no.
Okay, I'm going to stop it. I just got a funny orange message on it saying that it stopped sharing. So let's try this again.
There we go.
Okay. So we've taken the 4 areas and we kind of put some graphics on there to give them some idea. And this is how we went about them doing their project, their extension project. And some students are deciding that they want to do this as well, in the sense that they've got some ideas, or their drawing abilities are there, or those types of things. So, for example, in assignment number 4, or an extension of number 4, which was talking about the Agora and Olympic Games, we asked them to take a look at the image below, which most of you have seen before, either in textbook or online. Gave them some background information. We gave them then a blank picture, and they had to re-identify those parts of the Agora. And then we asked the students to do something like this. They're a teenager living in Lethbridge in 2020, and they wanted to know whether life was better or worse as a teen in ancient Athens. So they had to go and refer back to their notes, or consider who has the power, who gets the vote, explain their decision, and then they had to write a letter of what they like and dislike about the current democracy in Lethbridge in 2020. So that was one example. The second one, find interesting in a poster and develop those posters. Another one was to then draw or sketch Greek gods. And some kids have really liked this idea because they can do cartoons or comic book type things. They can come up with their own kind of emojis with that as background information. And the last one is to write a short story. You're a 13-year-old child, and you're going on a vacation to ancient Athens to see what Athens Agora looks like, and what the very first Olympic Games in Mount Olympus looked like. So they would write what it was like to spend their holiday at those 2 spaces. So those are extension parts. We think kids are going to probably like the project piece a bit more if they have the time, just because it allows for their creativity and allows them to show off a little bit more what they've learned in the extensions and directions they've gone over the past, well, by the end of May, it'll be the past 4 weeks. So that's pretty much where we've gone at my school with the social studies curriculum in grades 6 to 8. We're a middle school, so it's been an instant process. Not exactly sure where it's going to go, in the sense that if we go like this in the fall, I don't think I can continue with the team that I'm working with because they'll be responsible for their own areas, whether it's in the options or phys ed. So we're going to have to realign somehow because I can't produce all of the science and social studies for all 3 grades myself. So I'd like to open it up now, Chris, to questions.
Well, there's a couple of questions if you have.
Sure.
So some of the questions came by. Do you have any project examples for grade 7 and also any project examples for grade 8 you'd be willing to share? And then
Yeah, I can pull up the 7s. Just let me.
another question was coming as to how we would be able to access this afterwards. So I'll be able to, so Paul will get me all of the slides and I will show you exactly where we can post them. Or do you have a link to the slides already, Paul?
No, I don't have a link yet. No.
Okay, so I will show, right after Paul shows some of these examples, I'll show a little bit about where you can find some of this information afterwards.
There was another question as well I could probably answer while I'm opening up this other one, Chris. You said about examples. What was the other question?
No, where were they? So there was examples looking for, love to see some examples in grade 7, love to see some examples in grade 8. And then also where are we going to find, like, where can we find examples of this so that I can take a look or adjust and modify down the road? And so I'll share a little bit how we can do that here once you show those examples.
Okay. I'll pull up the grade 7 one. It's a little less fancy. Still working on this one because the project for 7 doesn't come out, or the extension project for 7 doesn't come out until next week. But here's an example of the railway and the idea of tariffs. We are asking them to take on one of these groups of people and become one of those people, whether it's a British Columbian, an Ontario farmer, a prairie miner, those types of things. And the expectation here is to tell us some background information of what it was like, life was like before the railroad came to be in that area, what it's going to mean to have it there. And depending on which one of these you take as an opinion, you're going to either have positive or negative. And then you're going to have to be a salesperson, either lobbying for the creation or the extension of the railway, or for, depending on if it's a positive or negative. So you can, for those of you that are familiar with the grade 7 textbook, we just cut images out of the textbook, gave them some background information, and we're going to make them take on one of these roles from the background information that they learned, and then present that in the sales, almost like a salesman presentation through a PowerPoint or a video approach. That's what we're doing with the grade 7s. That would be an example. By the end of the week, this one will be in place, ready for Monday's rollout. For grade 8, let's see here. So this one as well, just like the grade 7s, is still under work, but you'll get an idea where we're going with it. You'll see a picture here of Japan and with an outline of Alberta. Oh, hang on a sec here. And the idea behind this is, what would Lethbridge region look like if we were isolated, and what our lives would be like if we were to go from Medicine Hat to the Crow's Nest Pass along Highway 3, list the types of food sources, the languages, the cultures within the region, and where would the power land. So a kid is taking their immediate knowledge of the area, knowing the background of what Japan did with their isolation from the rest of the world, and the practicality or the extension of, okay, these would be the languages that I know are in Southern Alberta right now. This would be our industries that we do in Southern Alberta. So that representation with a map actually shows how big Japan is compared to Alberta. And it helps kids understand a little bit more that they were a fairly big mass, but their cultures were obviously hindered by transportation and communications back then. So that would be one of the examples that will roll out next week for the grade 8 social studies. So hopefully that gives you a bit of a taste. Hopefully we can have those ready for next week. Yeah, working on the fly here has been interesting. I'm sure all of you have gone through the same process. So that's where I look forward to the ideas here now, because I'm sure there are 35 of us or 41 of us. I'd love to hear some other ideas from other places.
That's awesome. Thanks, Paul. There was some questions, and if you could even just show those in the chat as well, Paul. That
Okay.
was there key websites that you were using for that the grade 8 students were going to? And if so, if you could throw those in the chat. I also put that in the chat for anybody else. If anyone has some key websites that they find are being very valuable and in your instruction right now, if you want to throw those in the chat, that'll really help us out as we move forward. And so, Paul, the other questions we're asking, like, are you willing to share some of those extension activities as well?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Well, with the fact that I can share the current assignment ones right now, but the extension ones won't be ready till Monday. But if people, I'm not sure exactly how to do that, where I can keep adding to it, Chris, just because we're still developing, which will be the case with the science ones too that we're talking about.
Yeah. We can chat after, but if it was a Google slide deck, then anything you add in afterwards, and we gave out the link to that Google slide deck, and that would be whenever they access that slide deck, it would be whatever live was there. That would be awesome as well. I love, so anything that you have ideas right now, I'm going to show here just quickly. We've got about 12 minutes left, so I'm going to show a little bit about where you're going to be able to see some of these resources from Paul. And in the chat, if you've got questions or if you've got things that we can share with each other, we'd love to have that open right now as well. So if there's things that you're doing, that would be great. But a website right now that I'm showing, you're going to want to take down that website or copy and paste it, because what that's going to do is that's going to bring you to this site right here. And so this site right here has been put on by the Alberta Teachers Association Professional Development Team. And a couple of things I just walk you through. The left-hand side is coping through the crisis. So these are wellness resources. We know right now that the number one thing that at the association we're very concerned about is teacher wellness, and understanding that you are working harder now than you possibly ever have before. And so these are some tools that you have access to right away for your own personal wellness. The second tab we heard teachers asking about was online teaching tools. How do I do some of this online teaching if I've never done it before? And so we've got some links to some tools here. But more important than the links to the tools, we also created some videos for teachers to be able to follow through and take a look at. And those are going to be found under this upcoming and recorded webinars link. And when you click on this upcoming and recorded webinars, what you will be able to find is any of the sessions that we've done in the past. So we've been doing sessions, about 14 to 16 sessions for the past 4 or 5 weeks now, and we'll continue doing sessions through till the end of May. And so if there's things that you want to take a look at, these are some options for you. If there's things that you would like to share, by all means, fire me an email and we can connect and see how we can help you to share that with Alberta teachers as well. Because one of the things we know is Alberta teachers are some of the best in the world, and they are developing some of the best resources. And so everything that we try to share is built and developed by Alberta teachers. And so if we take a look at some of these resources here, so these are the events that are happening. You'll see that these are the events that are happening today and tomorrow and Friday. Every Friday by 1 o'clock, we try to have the new sessions up. But if you're looking for Paul's information, I would invite you to come back to this Wednesday, May 6th, and I would invite you to click on this concept-based learning project, because what we will do is the webinar recording, the recording will be found in this location right here, as well as down below, you'll see any attachments that we have. And so we will try to, if it's going to be a Google Doc, it'll likely just be in the description. We'll give you access to that Google Doc. And if it's a static PowerPoint or a static document, we'll have that link there as well. So just to give you a bit of an idea what that would look like, we could take a look at last week, Tuesday, I believe. No, sorry. All the days are mixing up for me. I think it was last week, Wednesday. So last week, Wednesday, I did a workshop called Through the Eyes of Parents. And if you take a look, when you hover over this, you can see a static document that I left behind for that. So once Paul has this static document, when you come over the workshop for today, you'll be able to see any supports and resources that Paul has developed there for you. I would also just bring your attention that we have a lot of these tools have been recorded. So if you're someone that's looking at saying Google Forms, and we mentioned that a little bit earlier, I know Paul said that some of their assessments are done on Microsoft Forms, which is a really great tool. for some reason, it doesn't work for me in this browser, but if you were to click on Google Forms, you would be able to see sessions that we've done on Google Forms. My filter doesn't work completely well. So if we were to look at Flipgrid, you'll see Flipgrid ones as well. And I'm just thinking here, Screencastify. So I don't know why it's not working for myself, I apologize. But if you were to take a look at that, what you will notice is some of our sessions will say recording available and some will say no recording available. So if it doesn't say recording available, then there wasn't a recording of that session. But the ones that have recordings available will show you that there's recordings available. And so a lot of our technology pieces that teachers had asked us for have recordings available. So if you'd like to take a look and see, you can do that. The link that I copied is not working.
The other thing, not knowing how things are going to start to roll out in the fall, I saw a couple of comments there of trying to do this idea in the fall. We've talked about that as well, and the ability to move through right from the beginning of the school year if we don't go back till November or whenever it happens to be. Someone else suggested a group, collaborative group, and with Zoom. That'd be an awesome way for some social studies, especially those that are isolated in smaller towns. I live in a city in a pretty big school, but I am the only social and science teacher within my school working on this because the other science and social studies are working on numeracy and literacy. So you would be adding to my ability to work as a group too. I presented at those conferences this past year, or conventions this past year, and some of the information that I was sending out had to deal specifically with projects throughout the school year. So there is we've started with a basis for that for the other curriculum that has been covered prior to the start of COVID anyways. So I'm looking forward to trying to keep pushing this forward. Our school is going in that direction, concept-based and project-based throughout all 4 cores, but it might be a little bit more difficult in language arts and math because they definitely have stayed with the traditional presentation and assessment tools that they've been working on. So we kind of have a head start in social studies and science in this school anyways.
And so I see Kathleen, you've also mentioned that you'd love to see groups that could share as well. And I think that is awesome. That's one of the things that at the association we're trying to find ways, and the purpose of bringing people together here is exactly that. So one of the things that I would note that if you are interested in joining Kathleen in creating a group that collaborates on some of this, you can either share your email here, or if you mouse over in the chat, you can click over, instead of to everybody, you can actually select a private message to any specific person. So I know that Kathleen is just saying that she teaches cross grades and project inquiry, and so if that's someone that you would like to be able to connect with, you can send her a private message even to be able to connect afterwards as well. Because one of the things that we do want to do at the association is build connections amongst teachers. There's nobody that knows it better than you do. There's nobody that knows the Alberta curriculum better than those that are teaching it frontline, building these things together. So to be able to create some of these networks is a really great way to be able to do some of that work. And if that's something that you would like us to take a look at, then fire me an email and saying, hey, I'm a teacher that would love to know about we're looking at building projects. And so we could easily host a session that said social studies teachers who want to share projects, and anybody who were to join us to be able to share some of those projects and be able to facilitate some of that discussion. Absolutely, that's something that we would love to be able to do as well. We are at currently at 4 minutes to. Oh, Tracy, good. It needed the www. I wasn't sure. With the bit.ly, it's important to know that when you see bit.ly addresses, they are case sensitive. And so if you have the incorrect case, then it doesn't work as well. And sometimes depending on which web browser you're using, adding the www in front for the resources does make sense there. So if anyone else is having trouble accessing that website that I had just showed, please by all means let us know. Thank you so much for attending and joining with us today. It is just about 3 o'clock, so we will sort of close this off. But if you would like to hang back and ask Paul any questions, you're more than welcome to do so. I haven't told him this yet, but he will stay back for a little while longer. And so we're willing to answer any questions and just have any chat. If there's anything else that we can help you with, please let us know. And thanks again for joining us today. And thank you, Paul. We really appreciate your time and your sharing of all your hard work.
You're welcome. Hopefully things ease up for us all soon. I want the NHL back.
Kathleen, do you have a question? Your hand is up.
Yeah, I'm really interested. So do you guys use Google, I'm talking to Paul, sorry.
Okay,
do you use like Google Sites and any of the, so you said that your school is more on the Microsoft end, but
Yeah.
have you been talking about using Google Sites and?
I have used it before, but not within our school system. Our school division has gone with Microsoft Teams, which is a bit frustrating. It doesn't have the flexibility, definitely, that Google has. So there would be some conversion pieces